Okay, today is August 6th, 2022, and we have a very special guest on the show today, Lucho Garate. Lucho joins us from Lima, Peru. Lucho is a journalist, political leader, and activist. In addition to being a freelance journalist, Lucho is the director of Comunicambio. Comunicambio is an alternative social and political information platform which seeks to promote alternative and marginalized voices and ideas and support historical awareness and generate progressive and positive structural changes in Peru. Lucho is also a former alderman for Metropolitan Lima. And Lucho, thank you so much for coming on the show and welcome to the show.
Hi, Ryan. Thank you. Also, I'm very glad to be with you in this conversation.
Well, I guess first thing I wanted to talk to you is about Pedro Castillo. There's this exciting wave of leftist leadership that, of elected leftist leaders throughout Latin America in the last year or so. And I wanted to talk to you about the political situation in Peru and Pedro Castillo's presidency. I guess, can you tell us a little bit about who Pedro Castillo is and how he got elected in Peru in 2021?
Yes, Ryan. Pedro Castillo is a well-known unions leader. No, he was very known because a huge strike, national strike, that was part of a long struggle of the unions of the teachers movement in Peru. But the left-wing people here in Peru know that he hasn't like backgrounds of left-wing being part of a left-wing movement. He used to be from the right-wing movement. I don't know if you in the States know about Toledo that is going to come to Peru, because he's going to be judged in Peru because of corruption accusations. And Castillo, and that's proof, with documents, he was, formally, he had an inscription in that party, was part, more than 15 years of these Alejandro Toledo's parties, no? He was leader in the place where the Pedro Castillo belongs, that this region, North Highland region called Cajamarca, that is one of the poorest regions in Peru, and also one of the main mining regions in Peru. That's something very, contradictory. It's one of the main mining production regions, but also one of the poorest ones. And Castillo belongs to that region, and a district, small district in a city called Chota. He was, a very, a teacher of the public system, no, and he was also getting involved with the unions strikes or struggle of the union of the teachers, and also was part of this political party I am telling you, part of Alejandro Toledo. So he was like very popular and very well known in the media and social, sectors when he was elected when a struggle committee of the union, of the teachers union, in the year 2017, the main voice or the leader of this strike, against the government, and because of the the demands and the struggle of the teachers of the public sector, that are more than 500,000 teachers from the public sector that have very a very precarious situation, low salaries, and the conditions of the public sector education is very forgotten. So Castillo was the voice of that movement in that time. Ahora, I need to emphasize something also, that there is a political dispute in for the in the leading of these unions the union's teachers movement, because the main leadership of that movement has been for more than 50 years one communist party. What I belong from this Communist Party of Peru, Patria Roja, no, has been for more than 50 years, and Castillo represents another wave of forces where there are a lot of political ultra left movements. Even the some people that used to belong to Shining Path, this armed movement that also is accused of terrorist actions. Yeah, so Castillo was the leading face, of this movement that was trying to dispute, to overtake the leadership of this main teachers movement. So the strike was huge, was national, and was also a strong hit, no, a strong, uh, you know, uh, was
Impact.
impact. Sorry, that it was a main impact on the national public opinion and the government, but also in the opposition against the main, direction of the union. The SUTEP is called the union, SUTEP, that is, Sindicato Unitario de Trabajadores de la Educación del Perú. That is the main union of the public teachers, no, in Peru. So that was the time where all people were like, talking about Castillo, and the right wing and the neoliberal media was telling that Castillo it has links with the Shining Path, so he's also a terrorist, no. So that happened between the 2017 and 2018. So that's the moment where Castillo was a well-known leader, face of that movement. Years later, as we know, in 2020, when the political parties were like getting in their inscriptions for participating in the national elections, he was called, or he was part of an alliance with because he didn't have a political party. After the strike I was telling you in 2017, he tried to to coordinate, to engage with what part of those teachers that were part of the strike, to make the description of a new political party, a teachers party. No, he was trying to get it legally inscripted, in the system, the legal system for participating in elections, but he couldn't reach the timing, for that. So he talked with a left wing party, a party called Peru Libre. As you have seen, maybe the symbol of this party is a pencil with a red flag. No, that's a left political party that comes from a region in Peru called Junin, in the highlands. And so he made an alliance with that party, so he can be candidate to the presidency of Peru. That was how he reached elections, no. But I think you already know what happened then. No, nobody talked in that time about Castillo as a possible president of Peru. We are talking about the more than 5 right-wing candidates and neoliberal candidates, and there was only this moderate left-wing candidate, Veronica Mendoza, that almost all progressive and left-wing people were telling that's going to be the main candidate from the left-wing side. But as elections Peru are very informal and very changing, and the media was making also campaign for only the right-wing candidates. Then in the first round of the elections appeared this guy, this Pedro Castillo from the highlands, like a wave, so all the almost left-wing parties, and analysts we were like surprised because of the appearance of this candidate that was making a very, you know, a very, very strong campaign in the highlands and in the poorest regions in Peru. So that was a demonstration that people like me and many other progressive and left-wing analysts, we didn't see. We have to remember we were all in the pandemic, no, of the COVID-19, no. So that we couldn't see what was happening in the regions, no, in the main regions, for example, in the South Highland regions that are the poorest regions in Peru. The Castillo, election support was from those regions, no. So Castillo represented really the voice of a lot of Peruvians that are not getting the benefits of the neoliberal system, you know, that with the pandemic, with the COVID-19, where, you know, the conditions, the life conditions of these people were like worse, no, more poor. There were jobs, loss of a lot of, you know, work positions and more poverty. So those regions wanted to make like a protest, you know, and to tell we have a voice, and this Pedro Castillo was like in some way expressing and representing that voice. You know, so that's what the reason that Castillo went to the first, or won almost the first round, and was getting in the second round with Keiko Fujimori, that was the main candidate of the right-wing forces, no? And very quickly, what happened in the second round was that what all the establishment, neoliberal, conservative, right, ultra-right forces, and the main, you know, corporations in Peru were like coordinating to destroy Castillo como as candidate, no? Because they spent thousands of or millions of dollars in these media campaigning on the streets and social media, telling that Castillo was a communist, that communism was coming in Peru if we let Castillo, that Chavismo and Castrismo, no, or Castro Chavismo, so this alliance between Venezuela and Cuba was part of a very terrific plan, you know, that was going to take over the Peru's government and a dictatorship. So terrible, a terrible and a terrorist campaign, no, you know, with millions of dollars of support. But all the democratic, progressive, and left-wing forces were like supporting Castillo, no, for winning and to, you know, to win to this Keiko Fujimori, no. That's what happens.
And for instance, your party and other leftists supported Mendoza or supported Castillo, or who did you guys support?
Sorry, can you repeat me, because there's a lot of I didn't listen all the question. Sorry.
No, my apologies. The left, did the left principally support Castillo, or did they support Mendoza? What was the feeling on the left regarding Castillo?
That's a very interesting, a good question, because it's important to people around the world to notice and to analyze this, because the main organized political forces of the left, that they are not strong. I belong to those one of those parties and those movements, and I can tell you that the political forces of the left wing in Peru are very weak right now. Their you know, their links with the social movement are also weak, weak also in the last years. So the main unions are weakened. No, the peasants movement are relatively weakened, no, being weakened. So what happened is that the organized left wing small parties supported. We were part of the alliance supporting Veronica Mendoza, for example, the two communist parties in Peru and other smaller parties. We were supporting Veronica Mendoza, but the voting, as I was telling, the support of Castillo didn't come from the political organized movement. They come from the a reaction, like something like a spontaneous reaction from the main social and the citizenship, or mainly, as I was telling you, from the highlands, from the jungle, from the north, but mainly from the south regions of Peru, the poorest region in Peru, for example, Cusco, that is very well known because of Machu Picchu and these Inca places, no? Or for example, Puno, no? That is the region, mainly Aymara region. We have frontier this region with Bolivia, no? It's a very poor region. Or for example, Ayacucho. Remember, Ayacucho is a very well-known region in Peru, very poor, and also was the place where the violent action of Shining Path began, no? In the 80s. So, for example, Huancavelica and other regions, Apurímac, that they're very big but also poor regions, were supporting Castillo because they have also some identification, with this poor teacher, that have a very, a language more similar to to the people's way of talking. So that was that was the reason why Castillo get engaged more easily than Veronica Mendoza. Veronica Mendoza is from the Cusco region also, but this what I'm going to tell you is a very delicate topic, but that's one of the explanations of many social scientists also in Peru, because in Peru the color of skin and these topics are very, the racial topic is a very delicate thing because of our colonial past, and Veronica Mendoza is like too much white for some people. I'm not saying that's a lot of political scientists, anthropologists, sociologists. They talk about the thing because Castillo is like more similar for the indigenous people, no? So that's one of other topics that make that a lot of these people vote for Castillo. One more thing is important to tell you is that Veronica Mendoza and this left-wing alliance that we were supporting her, she had a more liberal speech about, for example, gender topics and the women rights, for example, feminist reivindications. And for example, Castillo is totally against that. He's conservative, no, and his alliance with Peru Libre, this left-wing party, is also a conservative party in those topics. They are left for politics or economy, but in topics like gender equality or women rights or LGBTQ rights, they are against that because they are conservative. Castillo is part of a Christian, Protestant church. He and his family. Many people maybe outside Peru they don't notice that or they don't know that. So it's very funny because they say he's a terrorist, he's a communist, but if you see the pictures or the videos in his home in this very poor house that he had in the highlands, you're going to see one a very a picture, a painting with a sheep, and he said in English, yeah, he's writing in English, not in Spanish. They say, "The Lord is my shepherd." So, what kind of communist has going to be is going to have what that kind of picture? That's very like funny, but that was of the fake news and those campaigns against this guy, but that's the main thing, no? That he didn't have the support of the left wing movements. Eventually, it was later when Veronica Mendoza didn't pass to the second round that all the left wings movement were supporting Castillo.
Thank you for that explanation. I think your microphone is hitting your beard. Yeah, yeah. So
Sorry,
it,
sorry. Yeah,
so it's making a little bit of noise.
yeah. Where I'm going to. Yeah, I think it's better.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's better. Uh,
Mhm.
well, thank you for that explanation because it's so hard to get reliable and accurate news in the U.S. about the political situation in Peru. And my
Mhm.
understanding is that since Castillo got elected, his presidency has been marred both by external and internal attacks. What has been the past year been like for Castillo and for Peru generally in terms of the political situation?
No, I have to say, I must say that when Castillo, we all noticed that Castillo won the election, and we were, we had these international of observative, these people that that came from a lot of countries, even the states, from the OEA, no, from the the American states organizations, and also from Transparency International. This we are talking about multilateral and international organizations that they are not left wing or communist or something like that, no? And also the elections authorities here in Peru, they told no, Castillo is winning and he won the election, but the right wing, the Fujimori supporters and the right and ultra right movement, they were telling no, we have fraud, we have to make another elections. They didn't recognize the defeat of the Keiko Fujimori candidate, no, as candidate. So we were delaying the recognition of Castillo as president because of the right wing opposition and these tricks, legal tricks that they were like making for trying to stop Castillo getting as president. No? That's the first thing. So you have that the right wing forces that they really are not democratic forces. They were uh, they didn't recognize Castillo even from the winning of the election. So when Castillo finally was, proclaimed and recognized, because this narrative, this speech of fraud, didn't have any, support. Uh, the right wing and the ultra right wing, declared the war against Castillo. So Castillo has the problem that he didn't have the majority of the Congress. We have, as you know, only one camera. No, we don't have like the states or other countries, Senate camera and representative camera. We have only one camera, like a representative one. No, so he didn't have the majority. No, and what happened is that the first month of the first 3 4 months of the government of Castillo, he tried to make an alliance, no, because remember in the second round there was an alliance, a political alliance with the Veronica's party, Veronica Mendoza's party, called Nuevo Peru, and another left-wing front called Juntos por el Perú, that they were engaged in an alliance with Castillo. But some parties, as the one I represent, one of the communist parties, we didn't were part of that alliance. We were supporting, but not as part of the government. So when Castillo arrives as president, in 2021, the government in the first month, as I was telling you, get an, digamos, and the government was representative of that alliance. You have uh, ministers of no of the other parties, left parties, but that was in the first 4 5 6 months, and it it seems for all that Castillo is going to try to fight, against the majority of the right wing forces at Congress to, fight for the political reforms that he promised. No, he promised, for example, that to get um, get the debate about the new constitution, a constitutional assembly, the calling of constitutional assembly for a new constitution. He talked about a new reform. He talked about a tributary, tribute reform, economical and tributary reform. Those were some of the main topics, no, about the maybe that the Peru state recuperating, the gas exploitation, for example, no, for some of the main topics but when the government was already, in function, you saw that Castillo was forgetting about all the promises, no? So that was the reason why the alliance with the left-wing forces start to, it wasn't functioning. So the main ministers of the left-wing force, we had the economical, the minister of economy was a very well-known economist from moderate but left-wing economist called Pedro Franque, and the women ministry also was a left-wing from the party of Veronica Mendoza. But that was the first month, but because Castillo was like, I don't know, we start to we were analyzing that he was like forgetting about the promises and was like trying to make alliances with other people, other center and right people to get some stability in the government. So was very pragmatic and very, the media. That's another thing to say. The all the main, media corporations also were against Castillo always. So they were fighting and telling Castillo is incompetent, he's an ignorant, he doesn't know how to be a president, and with the right wing forces were like always, against, and from the beginning they were talking about the way of overthrowing Castillo, calling the military for make a coup d'etat or calling for political impeachment, no, in the Congress. That was the main from the beginning, no. So what is happening from what I am telling till now is that Castillo is like making almost always more concessions for the establishment, from the neoliberal forces, and he's like throwing up. No, so we have a government that a democratic elected government, no, that began and reached power as a left wing or reformist force, but in the way of of the government, they forgot about the left wing, and we have every month there were change of ministers, and most ministers right now are from the right wing. No, that we have, I think, one or two ministers progressive, no, but most of them, the majority of them, are from the right wing forces, conservative. For example, the last thing I'm going to tell you is that Castillo began, he put at the first time a left wing external relations minister called Hector Bejar, that used to be, is a very old guy, intellectual, that used to be a guerrilla leader in the 60s of the 20th century. But what happened is that forces that are very conservative, even the Navy, for example, here, they say this guy is as a former guerrilla leader and he was against the armed forces in Peru. So this minister last even in a month in the position, So then Castillo start, putting conservative guys. So the political exterior, the external political orientation of Peru is not a progressive or a left wing, progressive, trying to get, in touch with the other progressive countries in Latin America, is a conservative external policy. That's what the reason of Castillo, and went to this conference of the Americas in the States. He was repeating this speech of Monroe, an imperialist speech, because he doesn't know and he's like, the guys, they are these consultants, and he's like getting in touch with conservative and right-wing politicians, not of progressive ones. That's the reason why the Veronica's party, Nueva Peru, broke the alliance with Castillo. So the left-wing parties, they are not supporting anymore Castillo. Some small political groups are like supporting Castillo, but even the party that take Castillo to the presidency, Peru Libre, almost broke with Castillo, and the Castillo had almost more than 46 congressmen with this alliance. This alliance is broke. No, there is no more. The Peru Libre's congressmen are like, they are like, they're split in more than 3-4 parties. So it's a total disaster, I think. And that's one thing. And the other thing is that Castillo has now more than 5 investigation of corruption. He and his main, assistants people, because there are cases that the judiciary and the Ministerio Público, we call here, the public ministry that investigates these cases, they have opened more than 5 cases of corruption against Castillo, because some of the nephews and family and the main assistants of Castillo are involved in, some, strange cases of, some corporations being benefit with some projects. So the opposition against Castillo is growing. All the right wing, the media is against him from the beginning, and he's starting to have an opposition from the left and social movements also. So the political situation in Peru is very, we have a very polarized situation and uncertainty, because it's a highly probably that the right wing is going to take over and make the political impeachment in the Congress to overthrow Castillo. That's a very huge menace, but it's a very, it's a very strong possibility to happen here.
And just make sure my understanding from my own research is correct. All of the corruption investigations and charges against Castillo are from the pro-Fujimori ultra conservatives. Is that correct?
Can you repeat me, please? But I want to understand better.
Yeah, sure. The corruption
the question.
The corruption investigations that Castillo is facing, and I guess there's both like attempts to remove him from presidency, and there's also impeachment attempts, but those are coming from the conservatives. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, the political accusations against Castillo, as I was telling you, from the campaign, were from the ultra-right Fujimoris and the ultra-right wing forces, always, and the media, the links with terrorism, I don't know, that he's an ignorant, or no. And when he became president, they started with this other speech that he was illegitimate because he won with a fraud, and he was an ignorant also. He didn't know how to, lead the government. But then there were this like lobbies people, no, that they were telling, we had meetings with the President Castillo, and he said he's going to benefit our interests. So with those accusations, the prosecution, authorities in Peru start these investigations. So you can say maybe, oh, that's also a possibility, and hypothesis that, as in other countries, you may have a little bit of lawfare, no, because also conservative forces are involved in the judiciary authorities and the prosecution authorities. But you have to notice that there are strong situations, let me search for the word, clues, or situations that start to make suspicious about this group of assistants of Pedro Castillo, benefit, making or trying to make to benefit some private corporations, so one thing is the political opposition and accusation from the right wing, but another thing is that you are starting to see that there are like clues or strange. The people start to think that maybe Castillo or his assistants are linked to some corrupt cases, so we have to be very make a very fine, very delicate analysis in that part, no?
And my understanding is that at the moment, the conservatives don't have the votes in parliament to get him out. So that if they want to get him out through removal process, they need 87 votes of the 130 parliament. But if they want to get him out through impeachment, they just need a simple majority, which I guess is 66 votes or something of that nature.
That's right, Ryan. They don't have right now the majority, the 87 you tell right now, but there are. I think with these cases, some weeks ago, they this one of these collaborate, people. This guy that used to be one of the nearest assistants from Castillo, called he also used to be a teacher from the union movement of Castillo. This guy is telling that Castillo was part of an structure of corruption. No, he is right now, detained by the judiciary authorities, and he is telling that Castillo was part of the corrupt structure, asking for commissions and this illegal collaboration from some corporations. So I think the opposition, the right wing opposition, is with helping of the media, making this environment that is going to give this pressure to the overthrow or the political impeachment against Castillo.
Mm-hmm.
They're preparing this environment.
And in order for the right wing to succeed, they also have to get rid of the vice president. Is that correct?
No, they can first overthrow Castillo. So the vice president is going to come the president. But some analysts say that also they are preparing the way to overthrow the vice president also. So as they control the Congress presidency, they are going to put a right-wing president of Peru to make, as they say, a transitional government for the new elections. No? But of course, if they get to the presidency, they are going to prepare all the conditions to a right-wing presidency. No?
And they're attacking the vice president as well.
Also, they are attacking also. Mm-hmm. They some months ago, the attacks were very strong with media and the right wing, but I think the cases were, weak. So the accusations, didn't reach anything because they were weak. The accusations of some corrupt acts or something like that. The accusations were so weak that they are forgetting about that. No? But I think they are trying also to overthrow not only president, also the vice president, Dina Boluarte. No?
And I think you mentioned this, but just to make sure it's clear for the audience, in addition to the right wing attacks, Pedro Castillo was also asked to leave the ruling party, the Peru Libre party, by Vladimir Cerron, who's the Secretary
Yeah.
General of the party, and Castillo left the ruling party.
Yeah, I didn't listen. Sorry, the last part of the question.
No problem.
Can you
Yeah,
repeat me? Sorry, please.
and Castillo agreed to leave his party, essentially the ruling party, the Peru Libre party.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Because the leader of this party, this guy, this doctor, this no, it's a doctor called Vladimir Serrón, is a very ultra left. He has a very ultra left speech, no. But the real thing is that the political party Peru Libre at the Congress, so the representatives in Congress, they vote always with the conservative and ultra right forces. So it's a very strange situation because they are there in the, for example, this Vladimir Zoran is very, like active in the Twitter, and he's always tweeting, first supporting Castillo, but always pushing for left wing, digamos, course of the government, no? That's telling Castillo, you must not be a traitor. You have to make the new constitution. You have to make nationalization of the gas and the agrarian reform. He was very radical in the speech, but his representative in Congress, they are always voting, and right now in the last month, they are voting with the ultra right and conservative forces. So there is no, they say something, but they do other things. So most people are seeing that Peru Libre is not really a left wing party. They say that they are left wing, but the voting, and you have seen also, there is not only the voting, you have seen them, like hugging with the right wing almost in the pictures in the Congress. So like greeting with them and voting with them in very, for example, I'm going to be, as I was telling you, Castillo and the Peru Libres parties, they are very conservative in all these gender topics, women rights, these reivindications. And in Congress, these Peru Libre representatives are voting with the ultra right and the conservative forces against those things, those reforms. They are like over, taking off from the, the education's politics in Peru, all the gender equality orientations or these things of sexual education, they are against that. So that's a very Peruvian or peculiar, phenomenon, political phenomenon, that this Castillo and his former party, allied party, Peru Libre, are conservative. No, they are like left wing in the economy. They want to be to take a very state reforms in economy and new constitution, but in the other topics they are very conservative. So it's a very strange phenomenon we have here in Peru, and what happened is that Peru Libre, as they are seeing that Castillo is forgetting about all the big reforms, they are saying it's better not to be part of the alliance with Castillo because he's going to, affect our image. But Peru Libre also with the votation of the congressman, they they don't need the Castillo to be disaccredited, no, in the Congress because of the conservative and ultra right alliance they are making, no. That's the real thing we have.
Mm. And where do you see things headed for Castillo? I mean, he's being attacked by the left and the right, essentially. He's very isolated at this point and weakened. Where do you see things headed for Castillo?
I think we have two possibilities here in Peru. That's my way of thinking and the way of thinking of the party I'm part from. That one big possibility and risk is that the right wing forces and ultra right, they are going to to get or to achieve the voting for the political impeachment. Some days more, some months more, but that's a huge risk and possibility. The other thing is that Castillo, as pragmatic as we see he is going to make more alliances with some center right or right forces in Congress or um, outside the Congress to try to survive. That's what he's making in a very pragmatic way, but forgetting about all the main reforms that he promises on campaign. So we don't know really. This a little bit uncertainty here in Peru. What's going to be the way of no? What we as part of the left we are saying no to the coup d'état. We are against the ultra right and neoliberal forces that want to overthrow the democratic president, but we also are against the continuation of the neoliberal path and neoliberal movement that Castillo is making. No, it's going to be a little bit similar with what happened here with Ollanta Humala. No, maybe you have listened about that president that also reached with a very nationalist and progressive speech, but when he arrived, the government was a very moderate and almost center-right government. No, he was very reformist, but very right, the left promises. No, Castillo is almost the same or worse. No, he's almost forgetting about all the main reforms. No? So, as I was telling you, we don't have a really um, clear situation what's going to happen. But for instance, I had to say that from we are part of our parties, left-wing party, we are saying that we have to make an independent position from the government. We don't have to because what the right wing people were saying, the media, is as you can see, Castillo is the same thing than the others. The left wing in that government is corrupt, is inefficient as the other governments. And what we are telling is that Castillo doesn't represent the left wing forces. He has forgotten about the reforms that Peru needs. So what we are telling with other forces is we need an independent way path, an independent way from the government, and to take again the main demands of Peru of changing constitution, of changing this corrupt system on authorities, and to make the reforms that people need. No, a social economy, a more the state to be reinforced in some areas, no, and to get more social policies also for a lot of social sectors in Peru that are very forgotten, and Castillo is not talking about those things. So that's what we are trying to make. No, mainly the main purpose of this calling of the left parties is to put on the social opinion the debate about the constitution. No, as you are seeing in Chile, that's the way they right now are talking about that, and we are trying to promote that we get in touch with that topic, and we start to talk about how we can reach the constitutional assembly and the discussion of a new constitution. No?
Thank you for explaining that. Well, those are all the questions I have for you today. Is there anything else that you want to discuss that we didn't get to?
No, Ryan, thank you very much for this conversation. I think it's very interesting to have this link with the people, progressive people, and people in the state that are interested in other countries, other cultures, and other places as Peru. No, that I think there is a misunderstanding of the Peruvian reality right now. I think some analysts in Latin America, for example, and maybe in the States, they are thinking is a part of the progressive, wave. He's one of the of the president being attacked by the imperialists and by the right-wing forces. I think we have to make some, precisions and some the analysis a bit more complex, and to say that Castillo is a democratic, he was elected as a progressive, reformist, and left-wing president. But as I was telling you, the way he has been like receiving pressures from a lot of sectors, and one of the main, I think, the main things that where you can see that Castillo is, I think he's not an anti-imperialist president. That's the reason why the conservative forces are in the political external minister in Peru, no? Because the state, I think the government of the United States knows that Castillo is an enemy. I think they know that they can, have influence in the Castillo's government. That's the reason why Biden and received Castillo very, happy, and Castillo told that about the America for the Americans. That's not coincidence. I think it's very clear what's at the back of that that's just political gestures and declarations. So I am not telling that Castillo is right now a totally traitor or a right-wing president, but I think he has forgotten, and he's a pragmatic, and he's trying to survive as president. That's the main, what Castillo wants. No, so the promises for a foundation of Peru and social transformations, they are like totally. That's the real thing as what I'm seeing. My fellow comrades from my party also. That's right. My opinion about Peruvian politics right now.
Well, thank you for explaining it, because again, it's very, very hard to find accurate or reliable news about what's going on in Peru, in the U.S. So it's important that you're explaining what has gone on throughout, how Pedro Castillo got elected and what's been going on in his presidency. I really appreciate your analysis and taking the time to come on the show.
Thank you very much, Ryan. And whenever you want, I'm going to be right here for another conversation, explanation, dialogue about these and other topics that maybe you are interested on.